Kung Fu Cowboy, tennis shoes on my feet. I'm a Kung Fu Cowboy, hamburger.
All right, back to that piece of paper over there. And Kung Fu Cowboy here. Hello. And number 2, why do I play music? Because I want to share the stories of my romantic life and several marriages. That's what I put down there. Maybe I should read my original words, every kind of thing. But anyway, okay, so why do I play guitar? Why do I play music? I want to share these stories. So let's go back to the beginning. My very first album, Bonita, 1974. I recorded that whole album. And that album has kind of romantic, because when I was living down there, I didn't have, well, I had one short romance. She was a Fuller Brush man, but she was a girl. That's what they, Fuller Brush. They went door to door and they'd sell you all kinds of home and bathroom stuff, you know. And this girl came to my door, very attractive, and I was wearing shorts, and she said, "Boy, I really like your legs." I go, "Well, thanks." And she goes, "I got some, like to sell you some Fuller Brush," whatever her pitch was. I said, "Well, come on in." She was attractive, and I guess I was open-minded. She came in, and I did. I bought a back scrub brush, and then I had the upper stair, the main bedroom upstairs, and ended up sleeping with her. That was a great home delivery. But anyway, we hit it off, and she came back for more. I didn't buy more, but I gave her more. And she ended up selling me her car. She goes, "Hey, why? I got a car for sale." It was a dune buggy. It turned out that she was a cowgirl, and I have a few of those in my life. Another one will be stories later. Anyway, she sold me her dune buggy. Had 12-inch tires in the back. 12-inch, so I could float on anything. I could float. I could almost go on water, except I'd just be spinning and sink. Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of air in there. But I used to fly. I used to be able to go through mud. There was nothing I could get stuck in. I would go flying through the mud. I would race people. There was an island it's an island in the ocean, just in the bay. It's easy to get to. I don't even know if it's really an island, but kind of like an island. Anyway, you could get onto this thing, and there's no buildings or anything on it. It's all sand, kind of hills. It was just an island that was probably no place you could build, and maybe it was public land. And whenever it rained, I used to do this, my dune buggy. It was kind of a weird challenge. I never went there when it was just dry. I'd go down there when it was kind of muddy, and everybody would be down there, and I'd race people. Because I could do better in the mud than the big, huge monster trucks, their big tires and stuff. I could somehow just float over the mud, and they'd get stuck a lot of the time. I had a lot of fun. I wasn't gambling or anything. Should have been. Could have been. But I wasn't. Just doing it for fun. But I did that quite a few times. I went down there and raced people in the mud. Oh, and also, then I was living in Bonita near the Mexican border. So we're talking about miles and miles of canyons, hundreds of miles of canyons. A couple of miles to the border, and then nothing but canyon all along the border. And so anyway, I would go out there, and there was all kinds of dune buggies and dirt bikes and stuff like that. And there was this one huge hill. I mean, it was almost straight up and down. And I never made it. I never made it to the top. But I got about 3/4 up. Now, the problem is that when you're going up a very steep hill, you can't turn around, because then you just start rolling over, So you can either go up or down. That's it. In fact, if you just kind of push a little bit of a wheelie, you'll flip over, which I've seen happen too. You got to be careful. But you get a good running start, and you hit that thing and juice it up and see how far you can go. I never made it all the way up. But coming back was the scariest part. Coming back down backwards, that's the scariest part, especially if you got rear brakes, because that makes you want to flip over too. So you got to, anyway, but that was exciting, and I remember how scary that was. And somehow that made it enjoyable. I don't like roller coasters, but I can enjoy certain thrills. So let's see. But how did I get on that? Tell you the stories of my love life. Oh yeah, I was saying, but down there, that's how I got off on that. All that year and a half that I was down there, and I made my first record. She was the only girl I had. That's not, well, I tried to date a couple others. I just remembered. There's a picture of me with a couple of girls. Deanna, maybe? No, Don. Anyway, but yeah, I was trying, but I didn't find any love. So there wasn't a big love life going on. But how romantic is that record? That was what started this. Well, it's they're cerebral. There's an acid trip on that album. there was a girl that I grew up with, Susie M, we'll say. And she tried to set it up. She made it so that she had a boyfriend, and she got him so jealous, he challenged me to a fight. And I was so pissed off that she wants, like, two people to fight over her like animals in the wild, and then she's supposed to get the best one. It's like, no, you take him. Goodbye. See you later. I'm not going to fight him for you. If you either come to me or you don't. No fight involved. So anyway, she ended up marrying him and going back to the Midwest, raising a family and having a bunch of kids. And my mom, I hope she's happy. We kind of crossed paths, or I found out about her later, but she had a simple life, and that's good. And most people wouldn't like to be with me. I've had a tough life, a difficult life, and I'm trying to be an artist, and I'm still not successful. I'm 70 years old, and I still have not made $100,000 in 1 year. In fact, I have never made more than $50,000 in 1 year. I might have got up to 40. I know I was in the 30s, but I've never made it to 50. I have never made $50,000. So that puts me in the lowest class of society to not make $50,000. That puts me with the scum of the earth. So anyway, that's who I am. Creative scum. So back to romance that I want to share. Okay, so there's some adventure. Anyway, the story I wrote to her was actually inspired by Frank Zappa before I met him. And then I realized, Frank, I don't like you like I thought I did. But he was a role model and a hero until I met him. Anyway, this song is called Stay Away. And to me, it sounds very, very Frank Zappa-ish. And I invented all kinds of recording techniques that I don't think anybody still has discovered since I was a recording engineer. And you can hear them on some of the songs. I think maybe there's one of my tricks I'm not going to reveal that's on that song that I've always wanted to do more of. I've got some really cool stuff. But anyway, so that was a bad romance on that first album. So yeah, see, I was depicting romance, but I was telling her to stay away, see, because she was trying to get me in trouble. And there's a song about loving someone so much you're waiting to be with them in the afterlife. So for me, I was looking very romantic, of love being a lifelong thing. Little did I know that was beyond the possibility of anyone's mental conception or emotional ability. But at that time, I still thought it was possible because I was raised on all these weird falsehoods and myths and legends about love and true love and romance and girls are more faithful than men, all these falsehoods that were burned into my brain. I think I made a lot of mistakes based on how I was trained badly. And so anyway, where were we? Okay, so love in my album. So then we go to the next, remember I told you about the rock opera I wrote? There are a couple of semi-romantic stories in there. There's one called Stallion, which is a story of Black's Beach down in San Diego. It's a nudist beach. Or swimsuit optional, I think is the way it says on the sign. And so anyway, I've only had a couple of girlfriends who like going there, so I've spent some time in Black's Beach without a swimsuit. And one of the times I was down there, I was with two girls. One girl was a groupie, and she slept with me, and I don't know how many other guys in the band, which grossed me out. I wouldn't sleep with her after that, But she was. In fact, remember I told you about the G Street rehearsals downtown. She came to some of our rehearsals, and she would take off. It would get really hot in there, and she would take off her top, and she had beautiful breasts. And we're sitting there rehearsing and trying to play, and we got this half-naked girl sitting here, And so a Stallion was written to her and the other girl, but semi-romance, more like a sensual journey. And then the In Violence album, is there a romantic song on there? I'm not sure. And then I moved to LA, and then I started having all kinds of, I had, like I said, 6 Jewish girlfriends in a row. At one time in the 79, I think, 79, I had 3 girlfriends at the same time. And juggling girlfriends, they don't know about each other. We're busy, you only see your girlfriend a few times a week, because she's busy too. She's got her friends. And, but when one day I slept with all 3 of them in one day. And that to me was just, I didn't feel right about it. It's not that I was cheating on any of them, because I wasn't. Monogamous relationships were usually required an engagement or a commitment, and I didn't have that with any of them. In fact, one was a witch. Black Magic Witch. And then the other one was a young girl. She was 18, which was young to me, because here I was, 22 or 3 or something. Well, 24. So 18 was kind of young for me. And then the third one was about my age, maybe the same age as me. And I slept with all 3 of them the same day. And that was like, that's okay. I got to change my lifestyle. Since then, I've always been monogamous. I only date one girl at a time. It doesn't mean that it worked out any better, but it meant that I was better. I was able to provide better, fuller relationships and grow with each relationship and expect more, and of course break up as soon as they cheated on me. So that was the other problem. After that, I think I only broke up with one girl. Of course, she. Did any girl break up on me? Yeah, anyway. They all cheated on me. If we look at, I don't want to think about that right now. We can number them all up. I used to number them and think, oh, I've had 8 wives or this and that, Because to me, I used to live with a girl. So what would happen was like Renee. Renee was a girlfriend, but then she moved in with me. Okay. Where were we about romance? So I came back. I had all these girlfriends and all these lovers, but they were all serious relationships, and moved in with them. So let's see. Renee lived with me. Debbie lived with me. Then Rita lived with me. And then Jennifer lived with me. And there was a few other girlfriends that were very serious. It happened for a long time, but they didn't move in with me. And then I married Raquel, and she, of course, lived with me. And then came another girlfriend who used to stay with me but not live with me. And then came my marriage to Michelle. So lived with her, kind of, for 20 years. Like I said, she was gone a lot of times. She was engaged to be with somebody else for half that time. And then... is that it? So 6 wives? So I can kind of say I've had, those would be that. So each one of those. In fact, the only one that I was legally married to was, I don't know. They were all kind of, I said Rita, didn't I? But anyway, I was only married to one, and that hardly counts. That hardly counts. And then the one that I had my kids with for 20 years, we were never legally married, but we filed the taxes as if we were. So as far as I was concerned, we were, and called us married. So who cares if a preacher says, "Oh yeah, you're married"? You either are or you aren't. So anyway, so all these stories of all these loves and lovers and relationships, and there was relationships in between living with each of those girls. That was sampling the products. So anyway, I've got a lot of romance to talk about. And I like to share my music, and it's therapy for me too. As you're going through a lot of this stuff, as you'll find in one relationship, which I wasn't married to her, it inspired the album Love, Always and Forever. And that title is because that's how she signed all her letters and cards to me, was Love, Always and Forever. And with an exclamation point. And ended up breaking up with her when I caught her in bed with another record producer. I mean, she had supposedly broken up, and he was married, so she had no business being with him, but she couldn't help herself. She blamed it on her mother. She said, my mother could never be married. She was always had infidelity. So she always thought that she was cursed to have infidelity. My brother and I were talking about somebody the other day who always was afraid of being an alcoholic, and he ended up being an alcoholic, and he didn't have to be. He wasn't an alcoholic until he tried not to be. I don't know. Weird. Anyway. So all these romances, 15 minutes, but I had a pause there. We got to edit out. So anyway, I got all these romantic love stories to tell, and I learned a lot. A lot of these times, like that song, Just For You. Find that song, Just For You. That was a really loving, passionate way for me to appeal to my wife after she had gone off. She'd had a breakdown of some sort. She had cheated on me and felt bad, and then she couldn't do this, I don't know. And so I was trying to say, well, just maybe we can patch everything up. And so that's what Just For You is. A real passionate, I listened to that song and say, wow, that's a really heartfelt thing. And I can remember playing it for her and stuff, and her getting all teary-eyed and, and being moved, but Doesn't mean you're going to change your attitude, your life, or your mental your loyalty, devotion, certain properties like that have to be trained. You can't just say, oh, okay, I'll be faithful now. It doesn't work that way. You either are or you aren't. It's a lifestyle, not a decision. It's actually a lifestyle because you can change your mind. Decisions can change. Okay, so there it is. Let's edit out that minute. It'll be 15 minutes. Kung Fu Cowboy out of here.
All right, it's been a tough day today, so this song seemed to be the right one to play. I just felt it inside. Anyway, here we go. Blues soul. I've got a blues soul. I had a job at the DGA. The Directors Guild hired me from UCLA. The man who ran the library there made me a cassette of the blues that was rare. He knew I played rock and roll, but he said, "You've got a blues soul." So with that cassette, I played along. I realized deep within me was a blues song. I left home, a 16-year-old kid, hitchhiked from ocean to ocean with a Bowie knife. I've never told anyone about the things I did. With a gun belt of harmonicas, I had a wild life. Staying alive to play another song was my only goal. That's all you need when you got a blues soul. Let me tell you about it. Uh-huh. Let me explain. If you're gonna sing the blues, you need a life. You need to live a life that you wouldn't choose. What it takes to have something blue to say requires some sadness and some badness in your way. That's why the blues requires a hard life. Most men get their blues soul from a unfaithful wife. I've got a blues soul. I paid my toll. I paid a heavy toll. I've got a blues soul. Things haven't always been that bad though, so I've got some rock and roll. Yeah, I got a blues soul.